What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Cursed Ending Explained and Breakdown featuring that sword, that damn sword, not your daddy's Merlin, Vikings and the Sparrows from Game of Thrones, but red because, you know, symbolism. Cursed, the Catherine Langford vehicle, is based on the book of the same name by Frank Miller that was developed concurrently with the filming of the series. It is a sort of King Arthur alt history of history that never actually happened. From the off, the intention of the book was to see what if the Sword of Power, aka Excalibur, chose a woman, and each of the famous knights and women of King Arthur's court are supposed to be unrecognisable, but will evolve into their characters of mythology over time. Before we dive into this lake of breakdowns, as always, if you're new, then please do drop a like down below and subscribe with notifications on so you never actually miss a video. The show starts off in what looks like a very BBC adaptation of the story. Oh wait, we've already had that. Awkward. We are introduced to Langford's character Nimue, who in the Arthurian legend becomes the Lady of the Lake. No one so far, in my opinion, has managed to pull off a great King Arthur story which is rich and ripe for becoming the next Game of Thrones, but unfortunately it does fall short here. Nimue will later become the Lady of the Lake, who gives Arthur Excalibur and looks after Lancelot. Nimue is one of the Fae, which are magical creatures which exist in the land, which is actually Albion. She has a curse and everyone else seems to absolutely hate her and is considered a monster, but it's not long before her life is absolutely turned upside down as Uther Pendragon is killing magical people up and down the land and destroying their villages. And also Merlin is party to this here, played by the same character who played Floki in Vikings, and one of the absolutely many versions of the Skarsgårds. Yes, it seems like they've actually nationalised Skarsgårds and are wheeling them out left, right and centre. In the legend, Uther is the father of Arthur. Has he got Merlin to make him look like someone else, as he wanted to sleep with the guy's wife? And Arthur is conceived. Yeah, that is absolutely beyond creepy. Now, Nimue actually wants to leave the village and actually comes across King Arthur himself, but he's not quite King Arthur and he's quite hardly a knight. But suddenly she heads back home to see her village ransacked by the Red Paladins, and the Sword of Power is entrusted to her by her mother, and then she kills wolves in quite a very graphic scene. We see flashbacks of her as a child, and she's had powers for many, many years, using them to ward off bears. There is a lot of subplot in this show which really bogs it down, and I feel like this could have been wrapped up a lot sooner, and some of the factions we only really see in the last 2 episodes, or really learn their intentions in the final episode. Arthur finds Nimue and he's told about the Sword of Power, and he subsequently steals it, and it's revealed that his father died and his sister Morgana, which would be the magical woman Morgana Le Fay of the Arthurian legend, was sent to a nunnery as Arthur tries to bring back his family honour once again. All the while this is happening, Nimue is actually going to a monastery where she actually meets Morgana, and she also meets an evil nun who later burns down the building and is a bit of a nasty person and a bit of a confused character who could have done with a lot more characterization there. Merlin has a lot going on in his side story, with a lot of it being sort of poorly explained, as the Shadow Lords are sort of there, it's mentioned, and he's followed around by Death, and even visits a leper king who has the body of Boudica, a legendary warrior who fought the Romans. This is confusing as Arthurian legends are largely fiction, but there are those who believe that they existed the same time as the Romans, and King Arthur even fought off Vikings in Cornwall. But Nimue escapes the paladins who are actually taken the monastery, and a mysterious blue-cloaked paladin chases them as both her and Morgana go to get the Sword of Power back from Arthur. And there are Vikings in the land now as well, and this makes the show very crowded, as we have In total, the Vikings, the Paladins, the Shadow Lords, the Red Spear, and even, well, Uther Pendragon's forces as well. And after quite a lot, to be honest, fluff, we learn that Merlin is actually Nimue's father, explaining why she is so very, very powerful. The Sword of Power was actually inside Merlin, and Nimue's mother helped him get it out, leading them to, get freaky. And also explains why the person she thought was her father absolutely hated her. The sword would later corrupt Merlin in the prequel to the show, and he went all the way to Rome to kill everyone there. He sort of cannot get away from this, and the sword does seem to corrupt people. Maybe that's why really, really awful people are drawn to it. The Romans are hinted at again as we see Nimue and Morgana, and also a red shirt Fae, head to a Roman battlefield cursed by the spider god. In the cave near the battlefield, Morgana becomes corrupted by this spider and sees visions of her ex-friend, lover. I'm not sure what they were getting at there. All the while this is happening, Arthur and Gawain go on a side quest, which is very convoluted and, quite frankly, boring to help the other Fae. Gawain was also a member of King Arthur's round table there. Merlin also helps reveal to the Ice King that he has proof Uther is not the true king, as his mother, who has been a pain in his side, actually gives birth to a stillborn and replaced him with a peasant girl's baby, which was Uther. This explains why she's got so much contempt towards him, and well, that is that. We also see Nimue's friend from right the way back in episode 1 throughout the series, helping the raiders who are actually the Red Spear. And Nimue also takes a city, as their magic base was pretty much going to be destroyed. The building of the story in this does feel convoluted, and not a lot of time is spent on really either faction. There are just way too many factions going on in this, and it's not handled in the same way that Game of Thrones was, where the factions kind of rose and fell over a couple of seasons, to be honest. Eventually it all comes to a head with the Pendragon forces aiming to wipe out the Fae after Nimue tried and failed to convince Uther to stop what he's doing and give him the sword, but she wasn't really going to give him the sword. We have a final battle which was really, really good, and the Red Spear arrive, and it turns out the leader of them is Guinevere, in Arthurian legend, the future wife of Arthur, who also got freaky with Lancelot. More on that later. They finally reveal that the hitman of the Paladins is actually a Fae, and is also Lancelot, which I called from the very start, in my opinion. And he turns on the Paladins, helping to release Squirrel, who is also Percival, an Arthurian legend. But Gawain is mortally wounded, leading Nimue to do the lay on hands to help, and she gets the Sword of Power back from Morgana, who has turned into Lady Death in possibly the worst storyline of the whole show. She kills the Paladin leader, and Uther murders his own mother as she smiles, showing he is the true son despite not being blood related. Luckily, the final scene is totally epic as we see Merlin dying and being taken by Morgana and Nimue away, but the evil nun shoots Nimue, which leads her to fall in the lake, and Merlin gets his sword and goes full OP God mode as Nimue, like I said, falls into the water. The evil nun is later added to the Golden Paladins, which are the true Christian force, because it was revealed earlier on that the Paladins, the Red Paladins, weren't really kind of officially sanctioned by the church and the Pope himself. Now, is Nimue alive? Well, she's destined to become the Lady of the Lake, an eerie figure, and considering she does fall in the lake, this is a natural progression for her, to be honest, and she is going to survive. I expect her to be the Kingmaker in the next season. Overall, it was an okay show, at times being a Powder Puff Merlin or Robin Hood style show, and then switching gears and being a dark and savage Game of Thrones wannabe. The series felt like as just one giant setup, but not all of the characters was given substance. I was hoping for a truly great Arthurian legend show, which is really, we've never had that yet. Merlin, a lot of you stands are going to hate me for that, but I never liked that show, and the same with Robin Hood as well. And apart from being too long, I did enjoy it. I don't want to sound like I'm being totally overly negative. I did enjoy parts of it, and a lot of it was certainly just okay. And I do like to see where this does go next. But I want to hear what you think in the comments down below. Let me know what you think, and please do drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and please do subscribe with notifications on. And I'll see you soon, and goodbye.